Hey everybody, it is 2 o'clock on Wednesday, April 8th. It is I, Captain Awesome, and it is tea time. Thank you all for joining me. We're in the middle of yet another week, and I have done the best that I can to kind of rig up a live plankton network. You'll see that you can see some lines because what I've got here is a webcam that is actually looking at the television screen, which is attached to a camera, which is attached to a microscope and the little ball of little petri dish of plankton that is underneath that. That's kind of the best I can do right now. I am slowly working on getting better at this, and so the image isn't that great, and I apologize. I did this plankton tow this morning in the Cape Cod Canal. Some of you may have seen me out there doing that. I saw a lot of lion's manes jellyfish, which is going to bring us to kind of our first little feature of the show. First of all, you're seeing a lot of creatures here swimming around, right? Those are, let me see if I get a little better picture. These have one eye, long antenna. These creatures, let me see if I can turn off the light a little bit. That might make it a little bit better. Let me shift this and move. Okay, not the best. We're going to keep trying. But most of these animals that you see swimming around are in the plankton column as zooplankton. Zooplankton are the animal part of the plankton biome, and copepods, which have one eye and this long antenna, and we see a number of different species here. They are the most numerous animal on the planet, right? If you took all of the copepods in all of the oceans and put them on a giant scale, and then took all of and just copepods, the different species, but just copepods, and then you took all of the animals that were on the earth, elephants, snakes, birds, mice, everything, and put it on the other side of the scale, the copepods would outweigh it. This is kind of one of the building blocks of what things eat. Those giant lion mane jellyfish that we were talking about the other day, this is one of the things that they eat. Even though it's a giant jellyfish, the nematocysts are very small, and they just gather this stuff by the thousands and millions and billions. So what I did this morning is I went down to the Cape Cod Canal, and I used my plankton net. I put it in the water. I let it swim around. I let it drag in the water for 5 minutes each time, and then kind of pick and chose some of the best stuff. So one of the things I want to show you, since we're talking about lion's mane jellyfish, is an actual larval lion's mane jellyfish. I think. Remember that jellyfish, we talked about this before, have this kind of disc that butt off, as do sea anemones. And so we can see this has that shape. It could be a sea anemone, could be a jellyfish. I'm not entirely sure. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit and see if we get any more detail. You can see the cells in the arms. See the tentacles there. I don't think we can zoom in enough to be able to see the actual nematocysts, but that's pretty cool. And there were larger ones swimming around down there today as well, but I did manage to catch this one. This is kind of not the normal concentration of what you would see. Oh, what's that? Is that an algae? Piece of algae? Oh yeah, a little piece of algae there. We have a lot of depth in the water here, so I'm trying to focus on some of the stuff. All right, and now what we're going to do for a little while is just kind of look around at the sample and see what other kind of creatures we can see. I gathered this a couple hours ago. the difference between the temperature in the water in the canal and the temperature here in my office is pretty large. So as a result, some of these things have kind of perished. There's a good little gathering of copepods that you can see there with some red algae in the background. I'm looking to see if I have a different animal, and I'm sure I do. It's just overcrowded with copepods right now. One eye, long antenna, just like the copepod that you see in SpongeBob SquarePants. That fella that goes, "I will get that Krabby Patty recipe," based upon these animals right here. Oh, and there's copepod, copepod, copepod. What's that? Ooh, that's another type of copepod. That long skinny one with the red. Actually, maybe that's an amphipod, which is a little bit different. See that? Oh, no, that's a copepod. See, it's just red instead of black. It's got an eye. It's got that red little splotch, which is its blood. That's really cool. Let's see. So there are times where I could literally do this all afternoon. Just look at these samples. Now, next week, maybe I'll do it at the same time. Here's something interesting. So, would you guess what that is? A blue algae, perhaps? Let me get it into the view. A blue algae, perhaps? Something like that? No. That is, in fact, probably a small piece of plastic fiber. That is what plastic kind of gets reduced to in the ocean. These tiny little pieces, sometimes so small that the plankton themselves actually can ingest the plastic, and that's how it works its way up the food chain into the large animals as well. It's not just big plastic we have to worry about. It's little plastic as well. Ooh. What is that? So that's something interesting there. Absolutely, maybe a type of copepod, a different one than I've seen, maybe. I don't know. It's got pretty big claws. That might be... Can you guys see that? I'm going to see if I can put that on a black... Let me see if I remember where that is. I may lose it. We're going to put it on black. The black background sometimes helps a little bit. Yeah, there it is. It's just another type of copepod, but it does have these kind of longer claws on it. So next Wednesday, ooh, what is that? So that is something interesting. Let me get that down into the picture here for you. Focus in on it. So I don't know if that's one animal or two. If it's something that's being eaten by something else, which is what happens down at this level of stuff. Yeah, it looks like something is eating something else. That's a copepod. We're looking down onto the copepod, and it's got something in its mouth that it's eating up. Another type of copepod. Again, lots and lots of copepods and amphipods. The water is still very cold. Oop, tilt it off. So it's hard to Here is, I think, that's another jellyfish or sea anemone, not sure which. There are people who specialize in this stuff who could tell us exactly what it is. I am not one of those guys. Yes, Lindsay, these are all species of plankton. So plankton kind of falls into two categories. Zooplankton, which is what we're looking at, Z-O-O, meaning zoo or animal. And then there's phyto, P-H-Y-T-O, which is a plant-based plankton, which my nets don't generally catch a lot of phytoplankton, but maybe we can zoom down into some debris. And oh, there's another piece of plastic. I don't know if you guys can see that. So let me find where some material is on the bottom. Then I'll zoom all the way in and then focus. Right? Now we find maybe some micro pieces of algae. I've got another microscope that's alright. So there's a good example. So that long straight bit in the middle, that's a chain of phyto cells that makes a little chain. That's actually the phytoplankton. That's the plant. That is the engine, the fuel that runs the engine for the energy for the entire planet. So all of this stuff, and this is a tiny little drop, is what runs the ocean. Now here's why that's important. So we don't often think about it because we swim. Ooh, I don't know if you can see that guy swimming around there. Some sort of larval crustacean, I don't know. Ooh, I lost him. They move really, really fast. There he is. It's kind of up near that brown paper. He's really swimming around fast. Just went off over my head. Some sort of crustacean, and there is a larval lobster or crab. See that guy swimming around right in the middle with the big eyes? That, if you like to eat that lobster or that crab, that's how big it starts. I think that's a lobster. Oop, where'd he go? There he is. Big eyes already. Swimming around. You can see the tail curled underneath. That is really cool. And in a few weeks, we will see hundreds of those in a sample. This is an early one. It's probably a little early for lobster. Amanda, yes. So when fish hatch out of an egg, they are very, very small for the most part. And they are part of the plankton column. Now, plankton is defined as an animal that is a drifter. It can swim, as you can see. All of these things are swimming. Ooh, and there's a right in the center there. I don't know if you can see it. Let me move it down. That is a polychaete. That's a worm in the middle there. We'll see if you stretch out in a second. He'll turn into like a bristle worm or a sea worm or a blood worm or something like that. And there's that baby lobster again. So when fish are hatched out of an egg, they are in fact very, very tiny and part of the plankton. They can swim, but the current is stronger than they are. This is why this is all food. Almost something eats all of this stuff, and then something eats it. So when a fish lays eggs, they lay thousands and thousands of eggs because only a few will survive to make it to adulthood or to be able to sexually reproduce. So it's important that by sheer numbers they get to survive. So they lay huge amounts of eggs. We actually caught a really, really tiny little striped bass one time that was about the size of a grain of rice. So sometimes, not too often, again, it's still a little bit early. What do you guys think? Should I, every Wednesday, should I do a little plankton sample and we can track and see how the plankton changes over the course of the season? Would that be kind of an interesting thing to do? Let's see what else we got. I do have another dish with something that unfortunately perished while I had it here, but I do want to show it to you. So I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to put this other dish on. Remember, it was really cold this morning when I gathered this stuff, and now it was really warm, and the water temperature changed so much that some of the stuff was not able to survive. So here is a really cool animal. I think it's a crustacean. I'm not sure what kind. I don't often find animals that have this kind of coloration in their body. It's definitely not a lobster. It does have quite a few legs, but one of the cool things is that we can see its eyes. It's got these really great compound eyes that we can see already. So let me get this in focus. Look, can you see all those lenses surrounding the eye? How amazing is that? Lindsay, I'm not sure what we're doing tomorrow. It depends on the weather. I'm trying to get outside as much as possible and still be able to kind of be on my own, but enjoy this with you guys. So it's kind of weather dependent. If I can't get outside, then I think I'm going to do a talk about barnacles, because barnacles are really cool and a lot of people don't know much about them, so they're pretty amazing. Oh, you can see him, he's moving. He's still barely alive, but I don't know what that is. I can see his legs and his swimmerettes, so I'm assuming it's going to be some kind of crab or shrimp or something like that, but the eyes just are amazing. The amount of detail that we can see in those lenses. I'm actually going to take a picture of that. Hold on. And if you're not already, you should try to follow my Instagram account. I try to put interesting stuff on the Instagram. Kind of a neat little splotch that you can see there. That's one of his kind of coloration spots that he has that will end up giving him whatever color he'll have as an adult. Not this particular one, but whatever it turns into. Again, lots and lots of copepods. Let's just take a cruise around here and see what we can find. So you see this little discoloration on the top here. That is that's actually a little drop of oil reflecting the light that I have on the microscope. That's from the animals that end up not surviving. Ooh! Ooh! So we've got this interesting little blob here of these brown dots. Doesn't look like much, right? Because we don't see the parts that are actually attaching there. I am going to put this on black, and we'll see if we can find it again. There it is. Okay. Now we can see it's got some kind of arms on there. So I'm not sure what that would be, if it's a hydrozoan or a bryozoan. Can you see the they're transparent. They're very difficult to see. But there are these little arms, and they have cilia on the edge of the cup. These little hairs. I'm not sure if you can see those. I've got it focused in pretty close. Ooh, makes me a little bit seasick sometimes. Look at that. That is really, really cool. I have no idea what that is whatsoever. No idea. Some copepods swimming around there, but that is pretty amazing. Let me get a picture of that. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Get a picture of it. So I have some some contacts over at the National Marine Fisheries, a lady who actually, this is her life. Oh, now you can kind of see him a little bit better. And I'll be able to send some of this stuff over to her, and she will be able to maybe tell me what that is. That's really, really cool. Yes, awesome. Like I said, I'm like a little kid in a candy store. I could literally do this all day long. So let's just take a minute. I'm going to put this back on the white. And let's take a minute and see what swims by. And if we look just in here, we see this kind of one main species of copepod going around. Then there's a little bigger one that's a little bit, oh! So right in the dead center here, this big kind of clear thing with like what looks like a fan, that is actually the molt of a barnacle just before it attaches to the rocks. So that is the feathery part that it uses to eat. That's one of the animals I was going to talk about today. Barnacles are actually related to shrimp. They're a type of shrimp that glue their head down to the rock and then build a shell around themselves, and that is the molt, the exoskeleton of one that has attached. So there's another type of copepod, that long skinny one. We already saw one of those before. So we've got kind of a lot of different kinds of copepods here. And what's surprising is right now there doesn't seem to be much else. Oh, there's another barnacle shed. Oh, what is that? Do you guys see that? Let me get that in the, I'm going to zoom in. Look at that little whirling dervish there. What could that be? Just spinning, 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 spinning. Oh, now he's gone. Again, I would love to be super knowledgeable about all this stuff because I find it so amazing. And it's here. You could go down to the canal and you could look at the water and millions and millions of these things. So there's another animal right there. That looks like the larva of some sort of snail. I'm going to put it right in the middle. It's kind of swimming around. It's kind of this amorphous look. Now I'm not sure. That could be a sea star larva. That is kind of what the sea star larva look like, if you remember from our talk the other day. It could be a snail larva. I'm not entirely sure. Let me zoom in if I can and get a picture of it. Yeah, see that? I think that's a sea star, but I'm not sure. Different sides. And this is just the stuff that I can see with this kind of low-level magnification. We can get down to much higher magnification on other microscopes and see even more stuff. There's stuff even smaller than this. And then the phytoplankton, the diatoms, tend to be small, as well as what we call cyanobacteria and dinoflagellates. Dinoflagellates are really small. So when I put it on the black background, sometimes I can see different things because of the contrast. That little blue bit in the center there, that's another piece of plastic. Another tiny little piece of plastic. All right, I think maybe I can see some diatoms if I dial in here. I'm looking for, in particular, a dinoflagellate. So Lindsay, I went down to the canal this morning, to the pier at Scusset, and put a net in the water, a special kind of net I have called a plankton net, and I just let the current push water through it for about 5 minutes. So this is pretty concentrated. This is not the concentration that kind of occurs naturally. So this object, I'm not sure what this is. It's kind of an interesting looking object there. Hold on. It looks like it could be biological, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I have no idea what that is whatsoever. And there is another barnacle shed right there. See that big feathery part? That's what it uses to catch plankton with. So that guy has attached himself to a rock or a piling or the bottom of somebody's boat. I'm working on a better way to do this. Ooh! So there's another, looks like a jellyfish or a sea anemone. Look at that. How cool is that? Again, not sure what kind, but pretty awesome. So look at that. We just killed 30 minutes of your quarantined day. A couple of quick things. Obviously, I asked you to go ahead and check out my Instagram if you get a chance, at Cape Cod Explorer. I do think that next week I will do this again on Wednesday. I think that maybe every Wednesday we'll start doing plankton. And maybe even keeping an online log of the species that we see in the camera. I will do better. Maybe I'll go see my friend Betsy and see if I can get a guide to help me better identify these creatures that we are finding. As always, I am super glad that you joined me today. I really am enjoying this, and it's keeping me busy, and I hope that it's keeping you busy. I think pretty soon I might be on the Community Channel 99, the Community Media Center, and we're going to keep doing this every day at 2 o'clock, trying to keep plugging along. Be kind, be safe. And let your neighbors know that you care about them. All right? I'll see you guys tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Have a great day. See ya.